ready. Okay, let's do it. I'm actually doing okay. I think I'm going to have a little issue bringing in the audio, but keep going. I'm working on it into YouTube and Facebook. We were good, but something. Oh, I see. I got it right now. Okay, here we go. Now we're rocking. Okay, sorry about that, everybody. Okay,
That's
we're
good.
back. Okay.
We're doing all kinds of exciting technical things here, you guys, today. As I said, Dr. Al is the wizard of all things business and marketing related. So some of you are joining us on GoToWebinar. I see, I noticed some familiar names from the other day, which is great to see some of you guys back on with us. And we're also streaming this live over to Facebook and YouTube as well, which is really exciting because this training is just so incredible. We didn't want anybody to miss out on it. And that's also why we're offering it a couple times this week. There's actually one more time to join us this coming Saturday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time, which is 10 a.m. Eastern time, which would be a different time if you were somewhere else in the world that you'll have to figure out. But we've got so much great information to share with you guys today about how health coaches use functional lab tests to grow their business and get endless referrals. And as we promised, even if you guys just hang out for 5 minutes with us today, you will get the replay for this also, for those of you who are on GoToWebinar.
I was just going to say that if you're watching this on YouTube and Facebook right now, and I think Jen has it in the chat, you're going to see a link because mostly everyone here, although are FDN practitioners, there's some of you that we've allowed to come in to see what really goes in on the back end. So we're really not selling the program or selling anything, but some of you are going to wonder, well, what do I need to do if I want to join FDN? So rather than talk about that, rather than ask about questions, I put right inside of Facebook and YouTube a scrolling ticker that tells you how you can get in touch with somebody that can answer those kind of questions. And Jen, do you have that in the chat at the same time?
That is in the chat as well. So you guys can, for those of you who are on GoToWebinar, you can go ahead and check the chat out. We've got an email and link for you in there, because as Dr. Al said, we won't be answering any questions today. We want to be mindful of our time. As promised, our goal is to get through this in 30 minutes to give you all the things that you need to know today about how health coaches use functional lab testing to grow their business and get endless referrals. So,
and if you if you put anything in the chat on YouTube or Facebook, we will put it in the video so you can get that recognition for being here. So feel free to say hello, tell us where Abla Almas just joined us from Chester, Ohio. So fantastic.
Cool.
So that's very cool.
Very cool. Well, let's dive in and keep our promise here on time, Dr. Al. So
cool.
What we're going to cover with you guys today is, obviously we're talking all about lab testing, and we're going to be talking about, why using functional lab testing as a health coach has been the key to making a career change, as it was for myself. I got out of personal training and doing corporate wellness to work for myself as a health coach, and functional lab testing has definitely been a key component of that. We're also going to talk about how functional lab testing increases your credibility as a health coach, and how you will feel more fulfilled at the end of each day working with your clients when you're using functional lab testing. And also, the reason that you'll feel more fulfilled is because clients are going to get results faster, better, and easier when you're using this functional lab testing. And then we'll talk about all the ways you can get access to functional lab testing as well too, so that you know how to go out and do the work that we're talking about today. So first of all, let's address like what's happening if you're not using functional lab testing. So any of our FDN practitioners that are on the line, if you guys are not using the functional lab testing that you've learned about, or then you're definitely missing the mark here. We want to address this. And for any of you who are aspiring to be a functional health professional and you're not using lab testing, and you're also missing the mark here too, because if you're not using functional lab testing, then you're not meeting your clients' expectations and needs because you're not looking at the whole picture. Without functional lab testing, you're basically missing some of the pieces of the puzzle, and you're not assessing what we call metabolic chaos here and through our FDN community. And metabolic chaos, as Reed Davis says, is the only one true diagnosis, because everything is a contributor to and a result of metabolic chaos, as we'll see here shortly on another slide. And so if you're not assessing metabolic chaos and looking at the whole picture, a whole person, then obviously you're not creating a personalized health rebuilding plan. You are guessing instead of testing. And that means that you're basically taking a shot in the dark. And this image that we have here, kind of depicts what we're talking about, where, you can have symptoms and lab values up front and showing up in somebody, but what you want to understand is all the other things that are going on underneath the iceberg, like the liver congestion, the cortisol dysfunction, the food sensitivities, all the things that are contributing to or a result of the metabolic chaos that we basically assess when we are FDN practitioners, which is going to ultimately help somebody get better once and for all, right, Dr. Al?
Yes, and I want to say two things. Number one, I want to talk about for a minute meeting client expectations and needs. Number one, almost every client, if not every client, comes to you. They have already been pre-programmed to believe that if I go see any health practitioner, they're going to run a lab on me and use that as some way of assessing what's wrong with me. So they expect that. So people that come to you will either expect you to do labs, or they'll even bring you labs that maybe someone else did. So the ability to be able to look at labs and be able to understand and convey to the client the importance of what you're seeing is critical. They expect that. And if you do that and you use labs, it builds your credibility and it automatically helps you be sold to that client. The second thing is, in terms of metabolic chaos, and this is really, Jenn talked about, it's a really important factor. Realize now that most people are more concerned with comorbidities than they are a symptom. They want to know, am I high risk or low risk? And we know that nothing stands isolated as a symptom. Everything has multiple causes. And if you go ahead and say, oh, this sounds like a thyroid problem, a digestive problem, an adrenal problem, you are giving them what appears to be a symptom, but you're really not addressing what the underlying comorbidities or cofactors are. And the only way to really do that is by assessing metabolic chaos. So you are ahead of the game when you look at the entire picture and stop looking at symptoms as a means of treating your clients.
Exactly. And let's explain a little bit more about metabolic chaos, just so everybody understands. This is a great review for our FDN practitioners. And then those of you who are aspiring as well, too, is that, metabolic chaos, as we've been saying, is really one true diagnosis, because when we really get down deep into what's going on in the body, we know that it's not isolated to a single system or a single function of the body. The body is a network of complex systems that's interacting with each other. So if you are, let's say, addressing a thyroid problem, you're actually leaving a lot of other pieces to the puzzle on the table that you're not looking at. Because as we can see here, as these arrows, go both ways, something like a thyroid function is a contributor to metabolic chaos, and it can actually be also a result of metabolic chaos as well. So when we think about metabolic chaos, the body can have vital voids or weak links, as we call it, which reflects part of our methodology. But as FDN practitioners, we work with the body's innate intelligence and its healing potential. We all have a level of vital reserve and vitality. And when people are sick, we may say that they have vital voids in their metabolism, which could be, functional problems. But when we are utilizing functional lab tests, we are essentially able to uncover all of these hidden healing opportunities in the different systems of the body. And then we use that information, that objective data, to guide recommendations for diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplementation that will have a positive effect on every cell, tissue, organ, and system in the body that will actually coach up function and coach down these contributors to metabolic chaos, ultimately restoring balance and health to the body overall. Now, I know, Dr. Al, you have seen this time and time again with the people that you've worked with, as so as I, as an FDN practitioner myself, too.
Yeah, well, one of the things I want everyone to pay close attention to is those red double-headed arrows, because that really tells the story. So let's say someone comes into you with a symptom of thyroid. You see that on the lower right. Well, that thyroid problem, if it is a thyroid problem, you will contribute to metabolic chaos. And then look at all the other arrows. So if someone truly has a thyroid problem, it will trigger a metabolic chaos that could affect their detox pathways, their glucose metabolism, their musculoskeletal health, their heavy metal problems from immune regulation, and ultimately it could start anywhere. What if they had a carb metabolism first? That metabolic chaos may deliver a thyroid symptom when it's really nothing more than metabolic chaos that everything is contributing to, and metabolic chaos then contributes to all those other pathways. It's critical that you realize that metabolic chaos is in the middle of this chart for an important reason. It is the only thing that you could treat that will actually get your patient client better. One thing I just want to say, Jen, before you go to the next slide, those people that are coming in, people are still coming in, we want you to realize nothing's going to be sold here as we promised. And most of you, of course, we know are FDNers, so this is really important for you to hear what Jen has to say as one of the most successful health coaches, FDNers on the planet. But inside the chat of the GoToWebinar is a link. If you're not an FDNer and you will have questions about it, we're not entertaining those, you're going to have to click on that link in the chat. And in social media, Facebook and YouTube, I'm posting a link. You could do the same thing, because we're not going to address any questions, but that link will take you to somebody who will.
Thanks, Dr. Al. And so getting back to metabolic chaos here, this is actually a big part of the FDN methodology. Some people might be saying, but Jen, why is it so critical for health coaches to run lab tests when anybody can run a lab test? Well, anybody can run a lab test, but not everybody knows what to do with it. And understanding metabolic chaos and how to utilize that lab test to uncover the factors related to metabolic chaos is what makes the difference as an FDN practitioner. And this is also why we run a series of lab tests, not just one, in order to look at the different systems of the body, like the hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy, and nervous system, in order to uncover all of these. The acronym here is hidden healing opportunities, or these hidden stressors here. And as I was saying, then we develop a protocol based on the objective data that we have found from these lab tests to guide our recommendations for diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplementation, which is ultimately going to have a positive impact on every cell, tissue, bone, organ, and system in the body, which is going to restore health and balance. I mean, I've helped clients, reverse their muscular sclerosis symptoms, or completely resolve SIBO without doing specific SIBO treatments, just based on using this FDN methodology that we have here. And all of this information was developed based off of Reed Davis, our founder's 20 years of, or actually more than 20 years of experience at this point in time, working as a health director and case manager for a clinic, performing over 10,000 lab tests on people, and working with some of the top leaders in the alternative medicine space to identify who got better and who didn't, and what were the things that made them better. And from those observations and that experience is ultimately how he developed the FDN methodology that we're talking about today. And Dr. Al, I know that you have been around working with Reed for a really long time, and you've seen the evolution of this.
Well, first of all, realize, and again, it's real important that all the people that are FDNers, which most of you are on this call, really realize that what Jenn is talking about, Reed has done over 10,000 tests. There's nobody in the health coaching world that's ever done as many tests as him. So this is proven methodology. So when Jenn says, don't test, don't guess, don't think, well, I'm going to run one test. As an FDNer, you run all the tests. That's what the program's all about. You can't pick out that one test because then you're guessing on a symptom rather than dealing with metabolic chaos. And one other thing I want to say, and Jenn knows this, Reed really invented telehealth years and years and years ago before anyone even knew the term. Now everyone's doing it, but really FDN was really brought to the forefront by being able to use the tools to communicate people in a virtual environment.
And I have a 100% virtual practice that I've created using Reed's business model that he has, provided us basically. So we've talked about, the importance of why you should be using functional lab testing, how it's going to help you, kind of get clients better results because you're going to uncover all the clues and the pieces of the puzzle. Next, let's talk about how do you go about accessing this functional lab testing? So one of the benefits of being a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner is that we have access to our medical director program. And the medical director program is how we can access labs legally and ethically without having a license. So when we need to order labs for a client to help them meet the expectations and needs that they have, we can go into our student portal, fdnconnect.com, where we can order the series of lab tests to look at the hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy, and nervous systems. And those lab tests are then shipped directly to our clients where they can do them in the comfort of their own home, and they pay the lab fees, which is one of the ways that we're able to do this legally and ethically as well. And then once they send in their samples, you will receive the test results. And then you review the test results, and based on the information from those test results, you will put together your recommendations for diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplementation, and meet with the client to review their test results. And time again, Dr. Al, when I meet with clients to go over their test results, the common response is something to the effect of, this is like Christmas. It's giving me, all the clues and the pieces of the puzzle that I feel like I've been missing for so long. Or they're elated by finally having answers after, being told that nothing was wrong with them or that it's all in their head, when we're able to see this stuff on paper and actually help them move forward.
Yeah, everyone on this call, every FDNer on this call needs to take a mental photograph of this slide, because this is truly what changes the game between FDN and any other health coaching program. This is like a gift. I mean, this is what gives you the ability to meet the client's expectations. The beauty is that they pay for the test, not you. It literally makes you credible and also legally able to do the things that no other health coach could do. I call this FDN gold.
It is. It really is. And it's so unique to our training program. I think we're one of the only, if not the only, coaching program out there that provides you with all of the tools and resources that you need to be a successful health coach, including this medical director program that we have to access the lab testing. So, and this kind of then rolls into our next piece of information here is shifting the client's belief system. And we want to shift their belief system because when we do that, they will absolutely get better and they will become your best referrers. And the lab testing is what helps us to shift their belief system, seeing the objective data on paper, getting them to understand this concept of metabolic chaos and this new way of looking at disease. It helps them to see that they have a functional problem, and it also provides them with a lot of motivation and hope that it is possible to resolve metabolic chaos and ultimately feel better. I mean, the common response that I get from clients all the time again is, why hasn't anybody else ever looked at my health like this before? Why isn't anybody else testing these things or talking about this stuff? And so this is where again, we enhance our credibility when we are using functional lab testing in this way. We are meeting their needs and their expectations. We're also helping them to get results faster and easier because we're taking the guesswork out of it, and because we're motivating them to make change at the same time because they can finally see this raw data of what exactly is going on in their body.
You know, people have expectations when they come to you or any other doctor or healthcare practitioner, and that is that they have a problem that you're going to take away. And usually all they see is the symptom. They don't really understand the underlying cause. So what happens is they have an expectation that I have a problem you're going to take away. Every practitioner they've gone to prior to you, and a lot of them come to you after they've been to a boatload of other practitioners, have tried to meet their expectation. They have a symptom, I'm going to give you something that's going to take away that symptom. But in reality, we know, and everyone on this call knows, and what we train for all you FDNers is that if you have a problem, it's because of a dysfunction. What we need to do is restore that function. We're called functional diagnostic nutrition. And the reason for that is that you want to change the belief system to the client. You don't have a symptom problem, you have a functional problem, because people who function properly don't have any problems. When they understand, oh wow, you need to help me function better, they're not looking to speak to you once and leave. They're looking to work with you to build up their function. And then when they understand that concept, they literally become evangelists for what you do and start referring you their friends, their family, because you've given them a new belief system, which is the only true belief system. It's perfect.
And it's the easiest way to build your business. My business, even though if you guys follow me on social media or you've seen my website, yes, I have an online presence, but 95% of my business is word of mouth referral. And it's because of the unique work that we do with the lab testing. So let's get into talking about the business side of things, actually. This is a great point to transition and talk about, how do we actually go about finding some of the right clients to do this type of work? And the first step is really in the pre-consultation phase of this, is that, when we are looking at potential clients, we want to be interviewing and screening them just as much as they're interviewing and screening us. So here are the top 5 pre-consultation questions that you should be asking every single potential client in order to kind of put them through a screening process and assess if they are ready, willing, and able to do the work that we're talking about. So first question here is, what is their main health complaint and how often does it bother them and how long has it been going on for, so that you can start to formulate your impression about metabolic chaos. And then question number 4 here is really starting to help you understand what are their expectations, like asking them, what would prevent them from completing a health rebuilding or weight loss program? What do they perceive some of their obstacles are? And can would lab testing be helpful to overcome some of those objections and challenges that they're having? And then question number 5 is, if we were to work together, what would you expect to achieve from working with me? Which is also starting to get to understand some of their expectations that they might have, so that you can fully assess, what does this person expect? And can I provide them exactly what they need? And are they the right type of person to work with me doing this type of work? Because the reality is that not everybody is going to be the right person, and that is 100% okay. But we want to work with the people who are right for us, and that's where we are going to have the most success with them in using the lab testing and getting those referrals in return then also. Now, these are just 5 of the pre-consultation questions that I recommend that you ask. If you want to see a full list of consultation questions or pre-consult questions that I ask every single person, you can actually go to my website here, holistichealthboss.com/discovery-call, and check out the full list of questions. And I'm sure, Dr. Al, you've had some pretty important screening questions that you've asked your patients or clients in the past too that were similar to this.
Well, first I want to say the key to this, when you look at this quickly, you go, oh, that's simple. What's your main complaint? How long has it been going on? What would prevent you? So forth and so on. First of all, realize these are Jenn's questions, plus that holistic health boss discovery call link. She uses these, but the key to these questions and the way she asks them is really so important for all you FDNers on the call. And here's the reason why. The client doesn't care about you. They're not interested in your problems. They're interested in their problems. And you're developing a relationship right in the pre-consult that you're telling them this is going to be about you. I want to know what makes you tick. I want to know what it's going to take to get you where you want to go. When you build that relationship pre-consult, what's going to happen is the next step, which is where you're going to turn them into a client, you stop getting all those objections because they realize it's about them, not about you. Critically important.
Hmm. It is so critically important. So let's say we've identified the right person to work with and they've made it through some of those screening questions. Now we want to have a consultation with them. And in this consultation is where we continue to kind of formulate our impression and assess if they are a right client to work with. And I like to break consultations down into 3 stages. So my consultations are about 45 minutes long. So you can think of each stage is about 15 minutes. And stage 1 is all about building rapport while forming that impression. This is kind of information collection segment where you're asking them more about their maybe health history here, getting to understand what some of their challenges have been so that you're starting to collect more clues and pieces of the puzzle. You're also helping them to feel heard. Most of our clients come to us feeling defeated, worn down by the traditional medical system as if nobody is listening to them. And we want to give them a totally different experience, which is starting to change their belief system before we even introduce some of that lab testing. Then we move into stage 2, the next segment of 10 to 15 minutes. And here it's where we are identifying their intrinsic motivation and their desires. And this information will help you to overcome some of their objections that they might have about working with you, whether it's money or time or otherwise. But ultimately, we want to find out deep down inside, like, why do they want to feel better? Clients might say, I want more energy, or I want to lose weight, or I want to reverse my autoimmune condition. But we want to ask them on a deeper level, like, what would having that do for you, to understand what that intrinsic motivation is, and are they motivated enough to actually do the work as well too. And then in stage 3 is where we are mirroring what they said and making an irresistible offer. So this is where we kind of start to circle it back to them and say, well, Jane, you said that these things happen along, throughout your health history. I can see how they might be, connected. And like, you can start to see that something called metabolic chaos has been developing over time. And to really uncover that metabolic chaos, then we would want to look at, the different systems of the body using some functional lab testing. And here's how I work with people, and here's what some of my, my options are for us to work together, basically. And when we do this deep dive with them, when we build a lot of value in what it is that we have to offer, we're going to show them that we work so differently than anybody else, that we have that credibility, that we have the tools to help them, and they are going to be jumping at the opportunity to say yes and enroll in one of our programs.
Jen, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I want you to just tell them, and maybe you were going to do that on another slide, how much your programs run that people don't object to. I want them to see the really big picture here.
Yeah, that's a really great question. And so my programs, I have 3 different programs that I offer. And my highest program, it's $7,500, and my smallest program is $2,000. Now, granted, I've been doing this work for quite some time. So some of you who are new might be sitting there feeling overwhelmed and going, I can't be asking for that much. And that's okay. As a business mentor for FDNs, I help to guide you through that process. And you may pick rates that are lower than that to start. And then over time, as you gain more confidence and experience, you'll increase your rates over time. So just for perspective, my smallest package when I first started, it was about $550. Now I charge $2,000, right? So it's basically like quadrupled in price. essentially, or a little bit more. And I've been at this for 8 years at this point in time. So you will get there. But I will say that, the average going rate for a health coach like us that has these kinds of tools, like the lab testing, is about $200 an hour. So that's what you can kind of set your sights on. And then with that in mind, know that you can make a really good living doing something that you are incredibly passionate about and that helps people get better ultimately.
And ultimately, when it comes down to it, money is never really the issue when it comes to people deciding to work with you or not. It's their belief in what you're going to give them. It gives them value. That's really the key.
Exactly. So let's talk about, once you get that client, what do you do next, right? And I'm really in the belief that, as we kind of have been talking about already, that exceptional service sells itself and results in effortless referrals. And we've already alluded to that, in the terms of being able to use the functional lab testing. It ultimately helps us to meet the client's expectations and needs and get them results faster and easier. And then what we do as FDNs, and how we deliver that service is what matters too. So I say that there's 4 E's to exceptional service. The first E is enrollment. It is, making sure that it's easy, that it's secure with the payment collection, that they feel confident in enrolling with you. Number 2 is expectations, making sure that we are setting clear next steps and instructions for the client to feel confident in following through and for them to be compliant, right, with the program. And then number 3 is execution, making sure that our execution is organized and detailed for the client and for you, because when you are organized and detailed, then that confidence is going to vibrate or resonate off of you over to the client, and you're going to feel good about what it is that you're doing, and so will they. And then they will also feel organized and detailed about being able to follow the steps of your program. And then E number 4 is engagement. How are we going to engage the client through the process? There's different engagement tools like emails and tasks and action items that are going to encourage them to follow through all along the way, so that they ultimately get those results that they've been looking for.
I can't wait for the next slide. It's my favorite.
So let's break these 4 E's down into a little bit greater detail for you guys, because the onboarding process, I think, is like where people start to feel a little bit overwhelmed coming out of the course, because there are quite a few steps to the process that we need to be thinking about. So enrollment and expectations, this basically is the consultation. This is where we collect payment. This is also, once they enroll, then we're sending them a welcome and instructions email along with the program agreement that they need to sign, that has like our refund policy, like our appointment policies, all that kind of good stuff written in there. And then something really special that I like to do in this stage is the welcome gift. And you can actually see my welcome gift pictured here, where, when a client decides to invest in us, which really means that they are investing in themselves, it is scary. Our health is the most vulnerable topic out there, and we're investing large, sums of money, like $7,500. We want that client to feel confident in the decision that they made. So I like to send this little personal welcome gift that includes some of my favorite things, like samples of protein bars and electrolytes and a probiotic, that are also little tools that are going to help them be successful on their health journey as well. And by the way, these are also things that I affiliate for. So if they really like some of this stuff, it encourages them to purchase more of it, which helps us to maybe build in some passive income into our business. And my clients, are always so excited when they received something like this in the mail. I mean, Dr. Al, who doesn't like receiving a gift, right?
Hey, I said it's my favorite slide. I love the gift part. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's your favorite slide just because it's a gift. You're not even
exactly. Exactly.
So then the next stage is execution. Now we have to execute on fulfilling the service. So this is where we ship the test kits, logging into the FDN student portal like we talked about to order those. We confirm with the client that all the items have been received. We send them what I call compliance emails to make sure that they're following through with completing their tests and their questionnaires. Then we're tracking that all the items are completed, confirming when all the items are completed. And then that's when we sit down and analyze the test results. So looking at that series of tests that we do and, analyzing that objective data to put together the protocol for diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, supplementation. And once we are ready with that, then we're going to book what we call the results review session with the client, send them some reminder emails if they don't book it. We complete that session, log our notes, give them any information that they need to order their supplements, and we book the next session. And from here on forward, we are just tracking them through their sessions as they do move through the program, based on the things that we're doing with them, essentially. So it is quite a few things to be thinking about, right? And all along the way, as you're doing this, what you are doing is you are helping to coach up that vital reserve that Reed Davis talks about using diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, supplementation. We're coaching down those known or hidden stressors, any of those contributors to metabolic chaos, which is going to restore balance to the body and help them ultimately feel better. And we're doing this again with objective data. We are not taking a shot in the dark, which ultimately is going to result in the clients getting results faster, better, and easier.
Yeah, and the interesting part is that I hope all the FDNers watching this are realizing that just like Jen was talking about giving that exceptional experience to your clients, you could see that Reed put together this program for the health coach to give you the excellent experience. And that means that even though there seems like there's a lot here, you're taught every step of the way of everything you're seeing. It's not like, okay, here's everything you need. Go ahead. Now you're an FDNer. Just like you hold the hand of your clients, you have the tools to hold the hand for you to get your hands held by just being part of the FDN program.
Mm-hmm. And ultimately, we are engaging clients in a process that is simple, fun, interesting, exciting, and emancipating because they are learning about their bodies. So for all of you FDNs out there, you have this system in your hands. And in addition to this, we provide ongoing support for all of our graduates to help you continue to refine your expertise in these areas that we've been discussing today. Like we've got our Strictly Business webinars and our Pro Series and our Detective Hour webinars that happen throughout the month for all of our graduates and students. We get wholesale product accounts and we get access to the labs and discounts on insurance. We have peer group Facebook groups and research and development projects that are always going on to make sure that you guys have the most cutting edge information to do your jobs as health coaches using functional lab testing to the absolute best of your ability. And on top of all of that, you can enhance your credibility even more as an FDN practitioner, because as an FDN practitioner, you are eligible to sit for not only one, but multiple board certifications with some of the top board certification organizations for health coaches out there in the industry. They can help you increase your credibility even more if you would like to do that. Now, these are not required, but they're definitely something that we're seeing the industry overall is for health coaching move towards in a standardization of the health coaching world. And so
two things. Oh, I'm sorry, Jen, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
No,
yeah,
but
I was going to say, I want all the FDNers here to listen. The slide before where you saw all the things that you could participate in, a lot of you think, well, you have to be at a certain level of, there you go, a certain level of expertise to take advantage of all these things. But we all start on that level, and you want to take advantage of them because you want to absorb some of the expertise of all the thousands of FDNers out there. And this is the best way for you to be part of that and experience it so you could move to the next level. So don't think, well, I'm not ready for the Pro Series yet, or I'm not ready for Detective. You're ready. As soon as you became an FDN student and a graduate, you are ready. Don't wait until you believe you have to be the most knowledgeable FDNer in the world. It takes time to get there. Ask Jen.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still learning all the time myself too. So, and I've been in it for a long time. But that is the great thing as we start to wrap up here is that as an FDN, no matter how like, much you feel that you don't know that you have a proven system to always fall back on. I remember being a new FDN and just wondering, how am I, I don't know how to help people, or when tough cases would come my way, like feeling a little nervous about it. But I knew that I had the backing of the community and the proven, data and research from redoing this work himself behind me that was going to help me to be successful. And so we have this science-based system. We have the right labs. We know how to run them. We know how to utilize that information to, create these individual health rebuilding programs. We know how to resolve metabolic chaos. And ultimately, we get to be the last person that somebody needs to see to feel better. I mean, I recently had a client that was working with me who had gone to the Cleveland Clinic 3 times trying to get treated for SIBO, was getting little to no results at all. Her main complaints were weight. She had put on a bunch of weight. She was bloated, uncomfortable all the time. And in the work that we've done together, she's lost over 20 pounds. She's down to her college weight, and she has 0 gas and bloating at all anymore. And we didn't even run a SIBO test or address SIBO. We ran a series of tests, look at the hormones, immune, digestion, detoxification, nervous, and energy systems as a whole. And I put together a protocol for her on diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, supplementation to address all of the hidden healing opportunities found on the lab testing. And here she is a couple months later, feeling better than she ever has in her entire life. And we get to do that over and over and over again. And I feel amazing doing my best work, helping clients feel better. And I know that you guys will too. So we hope that you guys found this incredibly, insightful today. As we said before, we're, going to mind our time. We're not going to answer any questions. So if you do have questions, here's where you can reach out to. If you're a current student or graduate, you can access your resources in the student portal, fdnconnect.com. or you can email support@afdnp.com. And for all of you who joined us today who are aspiring to be a functional health professional like an FDN, please feel free to schedule a free career counseling session by going to fdn.today/career. All of this information is in the chat here on GoToWebinar, by the way, or you can email us if you are watching us on Facebook or YouTube. As Dr. Al said, he was putting that information in the comments.
It's in there.
You can all, great. And you guys can also, if you're not seeing it, you guys can also comment on the video in Facebook or YouTube, and we will get back to you immediately with the information as well too. So any last words to share with our people, Dr. Al?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Number one, we actually are doing this again on Saturday morning.
Oh, yes.
I think at 10 o'clock Eastern time, right? It's 10 o'clock Eastern time?
Yep, 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern.
Right, and Jen was wishing she lived on the East Coast for that to show. But anyway, the reason we keep doing it is because a lot of you FDNers want to come back in case you missed something, because this is really key information. So we notice that people keep coming back and back to these sessions. So join us again. You want to make sure, because it's always a little bit different. The second thing is, everyone that is here, whether you are online, at GoToWebinar, on Facebook, or on YouTube, what'll happen is you'll get a link to a survey. I put that also in Facebook and YouTube. And I don't know if it's in the chat, Jen, is it?
It is. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Please do us a favor, do yourself a favor, and answer those questions in that survey. It's very short, but it tells us how we can help you move forward with things that you might be challenged with, how we can make these things better for you. So I have the link in Facebook and YouTube. Jen has it in the chat. Try to make it on Saturday. We'll be doing it on Facebook, YouTube, and of course on GoToWebinar. And do the survey for us. And that's all from me.
All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. We hope to see you on Saturday.